Hey!
Hey!
What it do, Heyyyy Nation?
As you guys can see for the title of this video,
we are going to be talking about the expectations versus the realities of living in Korea.
Yeah, so obviously we are from South Africa and we hear, you know, what Asia is like, but it's very different from what you find when you come here.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have 5 points each. Let's get into it.
Okay, so point number 1. For me personally, I thought that I would get lost a lot in terms of learning how to actually get around, whether it's buses or the taxis, because then everything is literally in Korean and there's no English. So like, as a person who doesn't know, well, who didn't know Korean, where would I even begin? But then when you actually get here, it's actually super easy. I mean, like, you get used to like a set rhythm, and then it's very rare that you actually get lost.
Sure, me too. My first point is dress code. So in South Africa, I don't know if it's every school, but my schools personally, teachers wear formal clothes like all the time. Male teachers will be wearing shirts and formal pants, you know, suits. So
Yeah.
and then maybe there'll be casual Fridays. Some schools did that.
Series.
Yeah, so teachers will wear like a jean and a shirt and whatever. So even in the interview, they say Korea, just bring formal clothes. So I bought heels, I bought formal clothes, and this is not for everyone. Some schools do wear formal. So basically, when you come to Korea, you just have to come formal, and then you'll read the vibe of your teachers, how they dress. So I was wearing formal until I saw my teachers in hoodies, and I was like, yeah man. Next thing, I saw my other teacher in a torn, like ripped jean, and I was like, oh okay. And so my school, I've got 2 schools, or I had 2 schools the last 2 years, and they different. At my other school, they very formal, so when I'm going to that school, I also wear just like the teachers. But at my small school, it's very casual, like jeans and a t-shirt, and that's why. So basically you read, and yeah, that's my reality. I expected to be fully formal all the time, but I'm actually super casual, like, you know, I wear all stars. It's chill.
Very chill. I mean, same with her. I thought I'd be wearing all my formal shirts. I brought all my formal shirts. I've never worn a single one.
It's super chill.
And yeah, hey. Okay, so point number 2. This is one that everyone back home actually thinks. Everybody thinks that gadgets are ridiculously cheap. Okay, we're gonna kill their dream now.
Yeah.
They are not. They are not as cheap as people think they are. I mean, basically here, because it's Asia, everybody thinks fine, a cell phone is cheap, PlayStation is cheap, Xbox is cheap. Stop that.
It's actually like the same price.
Yeah, it's literally the same price. You just have to like convert it. Obviously in rands it'll be a bit more because the rand is actually quite weak. So people need to factor that in. So gadgets aren't ridiculously cheap.
Yeah,
I
so
thought that.
Stop guys. This thing of Malini iPhone Lapi Korea. Same. It's the same price. It's
Like,
not cheap, but like, hi
stop
Palesa, can you buy me like oh, people actually asked about my camera. Just because I said I bought a camera when I moved to South Korea. It just means I was broke in South Africa and now I can afford it. Not that it's cheaper to buy the camera in South Korea. So yeah, that's a good point, Tim. So my second point is staring, or stares that when I watch YouTube videos before I moved here, people were saying, oh, people are gonna stare at you everywhere, you're just gonna stand out. Granted, we do stand out. In a bus, you'll probably be the only black person. Everywhere you go, you'll probably be the only foreigner. So even white people feel the same thing we're feeling. But at first, I think you might think they're staring at you. Like, I don't know if you know this or you had the same experience, like at the airport, right? From South Africa, you fly to Hong Kong.
Yeah.
And then that's okay because in Hong Kong there's a lot of people.
No one cares.
But once you get on that plane from Hong Kong to Korea, it's literally just Koreans and you're the only person in the plane, maybe another foreigner. But that's when I felt like, I'm going to this country, then.
True.
Like, you know, and I was expecting people to stare at me. So even like a normal glance, I thought they were staring at me. But now that I'm like, we've been here for 3 years now, it's like, oh, actually, they're not staring at me. It's just,
no one really cares that much anymore. I mean,
yeah,
like she said in the beginning, it does, seem like that. I mean, like, even with me, I don't know how many times I would tell her, like, yo, this dude was just staring at me. And then she'd ask, what did you do? I stare back.
Yeah.
And then that time it's just like you were in that person's line of vision. But as time goes on, you legit get used to it.
Yeah, so that's not my reality. It might be for someone else, but generally I think you do get people who genuinely stare at you, like would turn, you know, almost break their necks
recently
to look at you properly. But majority of the time it's just us looking at each other, dun 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 dun. So that's not true. Yeah.
Point number 3, for me, I legit thought the workload would be insane, in a sense of also it would be difficult to like manage. I thought I'd have to come up with lesson plans, create everything from scratch, like we're all taught when you're doing your TEFL or TESOL certificate. But guess what? It is the total opposite. It is super relaxed, right? Because the curriculum is set for you already, and you already know lesson 1, I'm going to be doing listen and do, or no, I'm sorry, listen and read. And what that basically means is you're gonna play the CD, the kids listen, they repeat. The kids listen, they repeat. So it's all about repetition, repetition, repetition. And so after a while you realize, oh wow, this is actually quite fun. And what your main job is, you need to find a very fun way of actually teaching the lesson. You come up with fun games where the kids talk a lot, they write, they read. You know, you just make it as interactive as possible.
Yeah, and so another way that I've done that is hopscotch. Instead of, you know, in South Africa we use numbers, I've literally made hopscotch in my classroom with alphabets. So what I make them do with grade 3s, now I'm teaching alphabets, when they hop on the block, they have to say A with the phonics, B, B. So, you know, I taught them hopscotch. They didn't know that game and they love it. B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, C, B. So basically what Thendo said, you just have to find your own way of making them play games so they don't really think I'm learning English, and it's more like, yeah, so
I'm playing a game, and then as time goes on, they'll even start saying English words to you at random moments, and you're like, oh wow, I'm actually doing something right.
Yeah, because first days, yay, it's blank stares. It's like ding 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 ding.
It's just like, who is this person? What
and
are you
then
saying?
Last days, it's like, teacher, no, like it's
they warm up to you. They warm up to you.
It's rewarding. So my third point, I have safety. When I was reading about Korea and moving to Korea, obviously these are things you look up. Is it safe to live in South Korea? Is it safe to travel around Asia? Because that's something most of us did before Corona, just traveling around Asia. It was cheaper and it was not that far to travel. Yeah. So I did expect it to be safe, but in South Africa, when you're saying an area is safe, I would say probably like, if you say to me in South Africa, oh, this area is safe, it just means maybe you won't get mugged on the road, but there might be a house break-in there and there. You know, like there's not, I've never, even areas like Sandton, they'll say it's safe, but every place still has an electric fence, a security of some sort, you know. But in Korea, reality is it's genuinely safe.
Safer like, than what you actually
it's
think.
Crazy. Like, I actually, sometimes we talk about it, I'm like, they don't even know how lucky they are to live in a country that is so safe, so assuring. Like when they go to restaurants, like even yesterday when we went to the Korean barbecue spots, they'll be eating and they'll go out to smoke and they leave everything on the table, bags, phones, whatever. I lost my phone and they brought it back to me in my house. Like they knocked, they're like, hey. So basically I had my ARC, which has my address, so it's like your ID in Korea, and they found my phone and they brought it back, and it had like my cards to basically transfer money, so they could have done that easily, transferred money to themselves, but none of that happened. So the safety here is
unmatched, dude.
Yeah,
it's really unmatched. I mean, like when I got here and I saw that the delivery guys, they leave the keys in the ignition, they leave their phones on the bike, everything's still on. I'll be like, what is going on? Even when people go to like the ATMs and stuff, they would leave the car running, go to the ATM. I'm like,
bruh, in South Africa they'll steal your car locked, So imagine if you left it like, no.
Even if homie can't even ride a motorcycle, pull it off, and then you're like, what are you doing?
Yeah, no, Korea is really safe. And the one point I wanna also mention was someone was walking behind me. I heard footsteps and it sounded like boots, so I thought it was a man. And then I put in my code, I came into my apartment, and as soon as I walked in, I was like, I wonder who that was. And I was like, wow, like I'm really so into Korea and trust that everyone won't do anything to me. That's how safe it is, because in South Africa there was no way I would have turned to see who's following me, who's behind. I probably would have paused my room just to see if this person is stalking me or whatever. But in Korea you don't even have those type of worries. So hey man, shout out.
And my fourth point, I actually thought everybody would be similar in the sense of you wouldn't be able to tell Asians apart, right? I mean, like, you watch movies and like they're like, aye, they're fine. But you get here, you realize there's actually differences in all of them. I mean, like, granted, when I first got here, I couldn't actually tell my students from one another. She would always tell me like, nah, babe, abafani.
But
I can tell them apart,
because
you know what
I
I'm saying?
came before you, but
yeah.
I had the same thoughts. Yeah,
I was like, nah, she's crazy. Because I'd look at them, I'm like, okay, fine, maybe there's one who's different. But the longer you hear, you realize, like, no, man, this kid and this kid look nothing alike. I mean, even when I saw twins, I was like, nah, Khalil or Khalil, they don't look alike. And then they're like, oh no, this is my brother. I was like, oh snap, I'm not going crazy.
Yeah.
So the longer you hear, you actually can tell them apart. I mean, we even know how to tell apart Koreans from Chinese and Japanese people. Like, the longer you hear, you start seeing these small differences in them that actually makes them stand out.
Yeah, true. It's crazy. Like, I also had the same thoughts when I first moved here, and now I'm like, I can't believe I thought everyone looked the same. Like, no one looks the same. I can tell when I see my principal, even outside school. Like, if you at a shopping center, you can see, oh, this is one of my students. Like, hey. So they really do not look alike. But at first glance, it's easy to be overwhelmed and be like, oh, bayafana. My fourth point is co-teachers. So what I expected is that what we're being told actually in Korea is that you're not going to teach by yourself. So basically there's a Korean teacher with you in class all the time as you speak. So this Korean teacher can speak English or a little bit of English. At least they can understand you and they can translate to the students for you. And that is very comforting for us because we don't know the language. So there must be someone helpful or helping you at least to even discipline the class, because sometimes you don't even if you say be quiet to grade 3s, they first learning English, so they don't even know what you're saying, you know. Yeah, so my expectation was to always teach with someone. We're taught that it's a co-teaching thing, so I say something, you translate. But reality, no, you're on your own. Like, you're really on your own. So basically the teacher will be there, and every teacher is different, every school is different. They'll probably be there doing their own thing, maybe marking and whatever, and if you need help, you'll be like, okay, please explain to the students this and this and this and this. But genuinely, I teach by myself. Some people though, like, I have friends who do have co-teachers like that, where the co-teacher will teach for like 15 minutes and then the other. But my schools, like, as soon as I walk in, some walk out. It's like, do you, girl? And at first it was like, it's scary because you don't understand each other. But because I've been lucky enough, I've been at the same school for 3 years now. My students know me. When I say team 1, team 2, they already know we're gonna get in groups of 5s. When I say okay, let's do role play, they already know I'm gonna pick 2 girls, 1 boy, like whatever. They understand me. So with time, your students and yourself will build a relationship where you understand each other. So reality, don't expect to teach with someone all the time. It might happen, but you might also be given 45 minutes and they like,
it's just you on your own speaking English. But also, like, the nice thing, you have what I call them mini co-teachers. And this is your students, the ones who actually know English, right? And you will explain something and the majority of the class won't really like understand. and this kid would just like casually just say whatever you were saying in Korean, and then they're like, oh, nah, and you're like, okay, good. Then you're like, you see, you
and there's
you, my
always
fighter.
like one or two in the class, and it's like I'll say something and they're like and I look at them like, tell them, and then you'd be like translate for me, and I'm like, good, let's go.
You know.
True. Yeah, we all have those students.
Okay, and so the last point for me, this is regards to the student names. I legit thought it would be super difficult to know these kids' names, right? Because when you're reading their names, you see like 3 names, you know, like Park, Min, whatever. And it's just like, how am I gonna remember this? Because in Korea, how they work, surname first, then your first name. And now I'm there like, nah, there's no way that I'm actually gonna know all these kids. Because like, she'd always tell me like, oh, this kid, Mang Mang, did this and this. This other kid, Mang Mang, did. I'm like, dude, how do you even remember all these names? And she's like, nah, it's actually quite easy. And I was like, nah, she's full of crap. She's just an overachiever. But I came here, it took a while, but eventually, because like I first started with like easy names. And it's actually quite nice when the kids see that, oh, my teacher knows my name. And then now they come up to you and they tell you, teacher, my name is. So at first they'll say their names super fast, but when you say what, they'll say it again, you know, because then I've got a student, the way she spelled her name and the pronunciation, super different. Because like that's another thing, how they write their names in English is super different to how we would pronounce it. So you know how you'd say Chang as C-H-A-N-G? Here, if I'm not mistaken, it's J-A-N-G. And I was just like, no, this is Chang. They're like, no, Chan, teacher. I'm like, cool, man. I'm not gonna fight you on your own name. So eventually, you actually learn these kids' names, and like it becomes easier to actually like talk to them. Because then, if somebody's making a noise, you tell them, hey, you specifically, sit down. Or hey, Hakyong, please do this for me. And then they'll do it with the big smile because you called him or her by their name. Yeah,
and you end up even knowing certain names, like Yuna is like, so there's popular names like Palesa, Dumi, Leseho, and you know like Yuna is a girl, you know Subin is a boy or a girl. So you start knowing by just hearing or just reading, good to know this is a girl or boy. But mostly when you move to Korea, everything is in Korean, so it's either you'll have to learn how to read Korean, which is good because it's easier to read, but you won't know what you're reading. Like Afrikaans, you can read a whole paragraph but you like you don't understand what you're reading. So even Korean, I think in Korea you can read names, but probably that will be helpful because you can read like Korean names, but you can also ask your teachers to help you. But I would say, like Thendo said, they don't write their names the way we pronounce them. So I would like read and ask the student to say it, then I will write it how I would read it. So basically, there's a student of mine, Yuon, and she spells it like Y-E-O-N something, and I just write U as in Y-O or U-Y-U on. Yuon, but they write some long U-Y-E-O-N. Yeah, so basically that's what you should do. That's a good point. And my last point is, my expectation of moving to South Korea was that religion is strictly Buddhism. I thought there would be temples and statues and all of that, and yeah, but moving here there are a lot of temples, a lot of them do practice that religion, but there's actually a lot of churches, a lot of Christians, which to me I didn't expect, but I was happy to find. Been to 2 churches. The first one is mostly foreigners in Korea who made a church, and then the other one is Koreans, but Jehovah's Witnesses are everywhere.
Bruh. When she told me that she found a Jehovah's Witness church, in my mind I'm thinking, and like, do they even knock on doors here?
They do.
For real?
Yeah, they do. They've knocked on my door.
They've never knocked on mine.
Yeah, Jehovah's Witnesses are also in Korea. So when they found me, they actually found me at some bus stop, and then they invited me, and they
And
told
she
me,
went to lunch with them.
yeah.
She went to go eat with strangers.
I mean,
You're in a foreign country.
no, but for me, like, my grandfather was a Jehovah's Witness, and I know how highly he speaks of these people. And I've been to the Kingdom Hall with him. That one, yeah, Jehovah's Witnesses, that whole church is just Koreans. And there was an English section, which to me was fascinating because they were all learning English just so they could recruit more foreigners into their church. So I thought, like, wow, that's selfless. Like, yeah. But anyways, I want to tell you guys that if you are a Christian and worried about finding churches, there's actually so many options. There's also a lot of cults, so
be careful.
Be careful. Be careful.
Be careful. And it's not just Christianity and Buddhism. There's also like Islam.
There's a lot of all the religions. Yeah.
And so, guys, that's the end of today's video. But please know, these are our own personal experiences. You know, all the expectations that we've had. We aren't speaking in general for any other foreigner. It could be different. So please, like, don't be coming for us and saying like, nah, you guys are lying, I experienced this and this. We are saying for us.
Yeah.
For you, it might be a different picture. So, like, please don't come for us.
Yeah, thank you so much for watching.
We really hope that you enjoyed this video. And please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
Please share this video as well. We will
See you next time. And like, at first to say fast. At first to say fast. That can be in the bloopers, it's fine.
Okay. Hey! I have asked for American English.
Oh man. Okay.